Folks, welcome back to So Bad It's Good, presented by Betches Media. Today, this isn't work right here. This is just talking to a friend, just a friend that happens to do what I do brilliantly. Her podcast, Pink Shade, I highly recommend. If you don't listen, you should. They have a bounty of episodes every week. They're covering Love Is Blind, which I have not touched this season. 90 Day Fiance. They do a Bravo and pop culture episode. Also, they're covering the Baldwins starting this week at 90 Day The Last Resort, but she's kind of up on everything. So, ladies and gentlemen, the one, the only Mary Payne Gilbert, welcome back.
I'm exhausted just listening to that.
I'm exhausted. I'm exhausted by television right now. Can you imagine? I mean, they no. We should. It's like fighting a war. I'm totally joking, but it feels like there is just so much interesting television out right now.
There is so much going on. I've only watched the one episode of White Lotus. I didn't get to watch two. I've only watched one and a half of Yellow Jackets, which to
Yeah,
me is just
I
like
started Yellow Jackets. I
one
feel
and a
so
half.
bad.
I feel bad too. I think they put out 3 or 4 episodes, and I'm like in a sweat panic about it.
See, I
Yes,
finished why I got the second episode of White Lotus, but it shouldn't feel like I'm cramming for a test now every week. That's what
I
it's starting to feel like.
know. I want to watch these things like Yellow Jackets and White Lotus. I'm watching because I love them. And Traders,
Yeah.
yeah. And I'm up on my Traders. But Love Is Blind, I'm recording ahead of time, so I've got to do 2 episodes of that tonight to record to drop on Friday. So I'm in my mind, when will I have time to watch the second episode of White Lotus? When will I have time to get back in? I mean, I paid for freaking Paramount Plus or whatever it is. You've got to watch Yellow Jackets on. I'm like, I got to watch it all before my free trial expires or whatever.
Well, I mean, you're covering Love Is Blind, and you dropped like the first drop was like 5 or 6 episodes, and you had 5 or 6 episodes ready
Yep.
to drop in terms of
Mhm.
podcasts. Now, do you like doing it that way? Because sometimes we'll talk about shows that are released, and then you kind of get a feel of what everybody is talking about. Do you like it doing that ahead of time, or would you prefer to do it after it's been released?
Well, the way I do, just like on the regular, like the free feed, is a Sunday is 90 Day Fiance. My episode comes out Tuesday. Friday is Love After Lockup. My episode comes out Monday. So I have a couple of days, even though I'll get the screeners, whatever. Generally, I'll try to, if I have to, I'll pre-record. But those I kind of try to watch and do the notes and give myself some time. But when Netflix does this to us, they drop it all at once like that. You know, you gotta beat the crowd. You gotta be
You
first
gotta,
in. You gotta be
well,
first
yeah.
in.
I mean,
Yeah.
because I think Love Is Blind, there is like an expiration date on that show in particular,
Yeah,
where it hits all at once and it's really hot and heavy for a month, and then we forget about it until the next season in some ways.
totally. Totally. You came on my show and you're like, I couldn't name one person from that
you,
DC show.
well, you reminded me, and then I was like, "Oh yeah," and
Remember
it
this,
really,
that, yeah.
yeah, exactly. And that, so I was thinking, since I don't cover it, I was just actually watching a clip of you talking on one of your episodes about this one guy saying that he only washes his towels once a month or twice a month. Is that right? Or what was the story?
Okay, the story is it's Ben and Sarah. And Ben's been in a lot of there's a TikTok girl. TikTok girl is another character. TikTok
By the
girl
way,
has come out.
all you have to say is TikTok girl, and then I'm like, oh no, what happened? That's like saying Reddit person, or TikTok girl.
Yes. Yes. TikTok girl has come in to say like, oh my gosh, like 4 years ago, he took me on a date, never called me, whatever. So I don't
Wait,
know.
but did TikTok girl have a point? Was she believable? And you're like, oh
Yeah,
wow, that there is something there. Yeah.
sure. He was a college baseball player. I'm sure he did that 4 times a week. Went out with a
Let's get this
girl.
guy a Bravo. This guy needs a Bravo show. Are you
Yeah,
kidding
right.
me?
So that happened. But he's a very good looking guy. And she's like, they're kind of talking about, oh, I haven't found anything about you yet that's like crazy or gives me the ick. What's it going to be? And she goes, it is interesting how little you wash your hair. And so he says he washes his hair twice a month. That's rough. And she goes, well, how often are you doing laundry? And he goes, I don't know, like once a month.
Whoa.
So then she goes, how often do you wash your sheets? And he goes, oh, now that I'm serious about, because he's like banging all the chicks, right? So he goes, oh, I wash my sheets twice a month. I go, so you're telling me twice a month you wash your sheets and you don't at that time just also do your laundry? He is lying. And then he
We need
started
to get a
saying,
blue. What are those blue lights? We need to go get the
ooh,
test those sheets.
And we haven't so far because, a lot of the times they'll go to each other's place where they live to get their stuff to go live in the apartment together. I'd like to get eyes on wherever he's living because it's gonna be disgusting. That he was so then Keisha and I, my co-host, started really going back and forth about how often do you wash your towels. So I was like, probably
You said once
like
a week, right?
once a week. I'll just pull them out of the bathroom and switch them out. And it was like I said that I washed my hair twice a month. She
Okay,
went
yeah. So
crazy.
Keisha, you got to follow Pink Shade on Instagram. Keisha, this is a great reaction. She is shocked, and she makes a very valid point. Is those towels are brushing up against your buttocks
Uh
and your
huh.
private areas? Because your argument was, well, listen, I'm clean and the towels are clean. So, but Keisha thinks you should be washing towels much more frequently than once a week.
Oh, she was disgusted. She was like, "I thought I knew you. I don't know you. You should wash them
Yeah,
like every other
are you and Keisha
day."
still on okay terms after that conversation?
She got over it, but I was like, "I don't know what kind of digging into your butt you're doing with your towel." I was like, when I tell you, we talked more about that than we talked about the actual episode.
Well, but you see, I think that's the beauty of reality television is that something like that will happen and that will inspire like this kind of insane conversation that is sometimes more enjoyable than the actual reality television show.
Yeah, because there were a couple of pretty boring episodes of Love Is Blind. Like, I'm
Well,
not gonna lie, but
that's the argument a lot of people are not the art, but that's the comment I hear a lot of people making is that the first five episodes are all in the pods and it was too much in the pods. Did you agree or did you love all of the pods?
I liked it. But another point that people have been making, and again, because I watch it so early that as the comments roll
Yeah,
out,
yeah.
to me, it's like old news. But it's and a lot of the guys looking alike, and they just put like six guys up and be like, it's just like same guy, different font. And I'm like, oh yeah, they all do kind of look alike, and there's they're all just like white bread Midwestern guys. But I was like, I think it's just a reflection of what the dating pool is there in Minneapolis, probably.
Yeah, I mean,
You know?
well, I mean, isn't it if you agree to do one of these shows, aren't you already kind of suspect? Like if you met if you're like, well, we both agreed we're probably not like the best people in the world since we agreed to potentially find love on a reality television show. I would be so paranoid just going in that. And no offense to the people that do these shows, but I just think that it's such a I feel like Love is Blind is going to have to open up like bars across the country where they just recreate the pod experience because people want to
Great
try to date that
idea.
way.
That's a great idea. TM Ryan Bailey. Nobody steal it. That is such a great idea. It's funny that you're saying that because there's the one couple, Dave and Lauren, both of their families' issue is who is this person that you met? Are
Yes.
they do they want to just be on TV? Both of their families have
Yes.
it about they're like, but if they would just meet us together, they would see, how that. But it's like, no, my parents are really concerned. I'm going to meet some like reality weirdo that just wants to be famous. And she's like, my parents have the same concern about you. And as any parent would, I think, be like, who is this person? And then you're like, I went on the show too. So I'm a weirdo
Well,
too.
Well, it shouldn't be like, listen, I think we've now in the last 15 years, meeting on the apps is normalized,
Yeah,
right?
yeah,
But
totally.
meeting on a reality show should never be normalized. But we are now having more and more dating shows from The Bachelor to Love is Blind that it seems to be a common occurrence. And then what happens, we see with these Love is Blind people, there's usually a breakout star of some sort on any of these Netflix reality series. And then they'll get pilfered off into another reality series. And
Hmm.
you'll get people like Harry Jowsey, who started on Too Hot to Handle. That's the thing. I'm like, I always wonder, do these people, are they there for the right reasons or are they wanting that 15 minutes of fame?
Do you know that Love is Blind actually has like the highest success rate? I think they have like 8 couples that are still married.
I like that. Like that's something to brag about. We have
Listen,
the highest success rates.
I'm just trying to make it okay that is taken 40 hours of my last month,
Well,
you know?
what's the most exciting moment thus far on these new batch of episodes? Because they release a new batch every Friday.
Yeah.
What is really standing out to you on this second drop?
Well, the TikTok girl was the end of the last drop of
Did they actually
one through
have
seven.
her or did they just talk about her?
It was just like she was looking at her phone. The girl was Sarah, and she's going, "Ooh, ooh." And he goes, "What?" And she goes, hey, ooh, God, somebody just sent this to me." And she's looking at it. And as he sits down, she goes, "There's this girl." He goes, "On TikTok." And she goes, yeah, TikTok girl. And they're just calling her TikTok girl. And she's asking him about it. And he goes, I don't know. He goes, yeah, I know who she is. He goes, but like, no, I never slept with her, nothing. I just had a date with her. And maybe she DM'd me another time. I don't know. And she goes, how do you not remember somebody that you took on? Her whole thing was like, how do you not remember somebody you
Yeah.
took on a date 4 years ago? And he goes, I don't know. I was like, because he's a college baseball player and he's very good looking. He's banged girls all over the Minneapolis area. She's like, everybody has a past, and you have to kind of understand. We're at a certain age. We've dated a lot of people. She's like, I get all of that, but my whole thing is like, were you mean to this girl? Like her whole thing is like girl power. Like, were you mean to this girl? And he's like, I don't think so, but I don't really know. And that's when she's like, how do you not remember? So what happens there, I kind of already know because listen to this. And if you listen to my podcast, then you'll get the scoop. Because I'm not going to say it here. But okay, follow along. Ingrid, okay.
You're pretty, yeah.
Ingrid, you know Ingrid. Ingrid's daughter goes to the University of Minnesota. Okay. So Ingrid's daughter's roommate sister went to that wedding, Sarah and Ben's wedding.
Oh,
Ingrid's daughter's roommate's sister is friends with Sarah and went to that wedding. So a wedding happens, but I won't tell you what happens at the wedding.
wow. See,
Mm-hmm.
I don't want to be on those shows, but I would like to be in the audience for one of those weddings.
Me too.
Like, I want to be there, and especially one where they don't accept the proposal. Like, like that would be very exciting. Like, if I had a time machine, I wouldn't use it for anything good. I would use it just to go back to like really cool reality show moments. Like when Aviva threw her fake leg on Roni, I would like go into that restaurant and just get a table to watch that in person. So I would be useless with a time machine. So how would you rate this season compared to other seasons of Love is Blind?
Listen, I'm in the minority. I know a lot of people aren't liking it. I would say compared to the first season we had of 90 Day UK, it's a zero compared to that because 90 Day UK was so good. Um, I'm going to give it on a scale of 1 to 10. I'll give it, I'm going to give it a 7. I'm going to give
Seven.
it, I'm 70%. It's a passing grade. Mhm.
What are you giving an A right now in television? And
Ooh,
it doesn't even have to be a show that you cover. What do you think
yeah.
A?
A is definitely The Traitors for
Yeah.
sure.
What did you think
And
about this week?
I was Danielle and her falling to the
See,
floor right now.
I
Listen, you and I just like watching it. I know you're covering it, but I'm not covering it. So I just watched it. And when she fell to the floor, I was like, if there aren't going to be 1,000 memes and gifs about this woman, falling to the floor, I'm like, she's out. They've got to vote her out.
Well, see, and this is so I had Carolyn, who, unfortunately, like she left the
Yeah,
Traders this past week, and I think we all know that by now, so we can talk about it. But I was rooting for her. I understand why she was out. I wish she had fought a little bit harder at the round table. But what I'm so curious about is that kind of theatrics that Danielle is pulling. Like, I have people in my comments, really standing up for Danielle and going, "Oh, this is
mm,
great gameplay." And I'm so curious about that because I'm like, well, maybe I am just such a fan of Carolyn that I'm not seeing correctly. But you're not covering the show, and you thought that was so highly dramatic and theatrical that doesn't
yeah,
it read like something is up, something is
yeah.
very wrong with Danielle, and that would like alert me that she's a traitor.
She's always being crying and being overly dramatic. And because I don't watch Big Brother, maybe that's just her
See, that's what
personality,
me too.
but
Yeah.
I don't think so because and then this whole like recruiting of Brittany, who was her, I was like, could you be more obvious? Could you be more
Well,
obvious?
I mean, the thing is, what if she recruits Brittany and then Brittany finds a way to backstab Danielle, which would be interesting, or vice versa, Danielle, recruits Brittany and then throws her under the bus and she gets away another week. That's what I love about the game. It is fun to have favorites. Like, I really love Carolyn, so I'm
Me
sad that
too.
she's gone.
Me
What do
too.
you think about, people are calling this a redemption arc. I just think it's the same Tom that we always seen. It's just that he's not cheating on Ariana on the Traders. What do you think of Sandoval this season?
Oh my God. Well, he is like a lovable dork. And so if you didn't know anything about him, if you've been living under a rock and you didn't hear about Scandival and all that, you might be like, oh, he's a fun guy. Like, what was that show he was on? I'm like, RIP, it's too late. But it's not a redemption arc. It's just more Tom Sandoval being
Yeah.
like,
Well,
I'm the only one here that's musical. So
yeah, good. Well, that's what's so great about the show, though. Even for like Carolyn was telling me about Tom, was just like she didn't watch Vanderpump Rules, so she was like, "Oh, yeah, he's kind of like a fun, dorky guy. He likes to sing. He think, like." And she goes, "I didn't really fully understand why everybody was so mean to him." And I was trying to explain Vanderpump Rules to her, but I thought that was so interesting because, like we were saying, we didn't watch Big Brother, so I don't
right.
know Danielle the way that some people like Danielle. And I think that's what I love about the show is the mixing of the different reality genres all in one because people like everybody has a fan. And even though I don't particularly love Danielle, I don't know her personally, I just don't love her on the show. I'm kind of I'm kind of happy that she has fans. Like I like that there's
Mm,
somebody for everybody. I just don't see it in terms of gameplay, and it makes me question like maybe we're just not seeing the edit. Like maybe the edit is not biased, but maybe they're trying to direct us in a certain direction as an audience. I don't know. Do you ever think about stuff like that?
I do. Yeah, a lot. I'll say, okay, like when I watched that, like I told you, I watched Sold on SLC, and the first
Yeah.
first episode, I'm like, okay, production is trying to tell us that we hate Matt. I don't know why we hate Matt, but production is telling us that we do, so we do. Like, I could tell right
Which,
away.
by the way, Pink Shade covered the entire season of Sold on SLC.
Yeah,
So I know a lot of people didn't watch it, but maybe check out those episodes to see if you want to actually watch Sold on SLC because they recap every episode.
I
But
loved
you're
it.
saying in the edit they were
Y-
already giving you signs.
they're telling you, this is the guy you hate. And then and so I was like, all right, production is telling us this, so maybe we're gonna like he's gonna be like a lovable dork at the end. But no, he turned out to be worse than what we thought. But I do watch that a lot and think, okay, production is trying to tell us something. And then a lot of times you'll have somebody
Which
like
is their
here.
job, right?
Yeah.
Like, they can't, this isn't like just a straight up documentary. This is a reality competition
And I
series.
like when people like Carolyn, people like that come on your show and go, what they didn't tell you was this. And I had a couple of the cast members of Sold on SLC, and they're like, what they didn't tell you was this. And I'm like, wait a minute now. So if I would
I
have known
know.
that, that would have made me think differently.
Well, see, and then what are the rules of that? Because you never want, like, I always, like, I'm not a company man, like, but I do love Bravo. I want
Yeah, of
Bravo to
course.
succeed. I want the traders to succeed. But I am sometimes the further I get into this, and I think you're probably the same way. I want to know how these are put together. I want to
Hmm.
know the conversations, and to me, that's what's fascinating. Of why did you choose this, and when did you start going? We need to put the audience over in this direction so they don't see this misdirection coming over here. Like, are those
Hmm.
conversations happening, and what do they sound like?
Yeah, yeah, and I think whatever is the name of that show, and I was just telling somebody about it this weekend. Of course, I can never remember. It's the show that they did that was like a spoof of The Bachelor, but it was like super dark. It was a scripted
Oh,
show.
with was that the Casey Wilson one back in the day?
No, Casey
You're not talking
wasn't
about
on it.
Jury Duty or
No, no, no. It was a show
uh,
before
oh,
that.
with Ken Marino.
Well, I don't know who
Oh
that is.
yeah. Anyways, sorry.
It was a show that it was like a scripted show, but it was based on like The Bachelorette.
Yeah.
Yeah, and it was like one bachelor trying to pick between the guys or whatever. And it right when I say it or right when you
Oh,
say it,
Burning Love. Burning Love.
no, it was
Okay.
it's a scripted show that was it dark comedy, I would say, about very dark because people die about, and it was based on like The Bachelor. So it was
Oh,
all
the
about with
it was on.
the producers
Yes.
behind the scenes, like telling the girl one thing, telling the guys another thing. And it's all about, and the producers were all trying to get their person to win, like to win The
Yeah.
Bachelor or whatever. No, I can't
Um,
remember the name of it.
I know. No, I know exactly. I'm finding it right. Unreal.
Unreal. I was telling somebody this weekend because I was at this thing with my husband, and when you tell people you're a podcaster, you cover reality TV, they're like, "Oh, that's weird." So they,
Yeah.
then they either have never watched reality TV or they don't think you have a real job or all that.
Yeah.
And I was talking to whoever it was. I said, "There's a great show that I think sort of is pretty close to probably what happens on some of these shows with the producers trying to." They care about the people, but not really because they're just trying to produce a good show and sort of that,
Yeah.
I was like, the name of that show, if you could figure it out, is really good. Because they were asking me, like, what do you think is the percentage of these shows that are real? I said, you'd have to name a show, and then I could tell you what I think. because, you know, in the 90-day world, we have plenty of stuff that's fakish, and Love After Lockup, plenty of stuff that's fakish. But on the Bravo stuff, I'd say it's a pretty low percent, other than they may make them film 3 or 4 times walking
Yeah.
into a restaurant to get a shot. But the conversations are conversations they were going to have anyway. They just told the production what they're going to talk about, you know? I said, so it would depend on the genre or the show for me to tell you if I think it's real or not and how much of that
Yeah.
is true. Yeah.
Well, you brought up 90 Day Fiance, and this was also on your Instagram. You know, this week on Southern Charm, Craig Conover brought up the fact that he watches 90 Day Fiance, and that's why he can tell that Shep and Sienna's relationship is not real because he's watched enough 90 Day Fiance. And I was like, wow, we're crossing networks with that comment. I was shocked that they left it in the edit, but I was also very excited they left that in the edit. How excited were you when you saw Craig say this?
Okay, so I was just eating my salad, just happily at my table with my computer working and just had it on in the background. And when I heard him say that, I had to stop what I was doing, go over, do the thing that I do, which is so professional, pause my TV, rewind it, turn the volume way up, and then just record my television.
Yeah,
That's
guys, the being a content creator, it's not the glamour that you think it is. I mean, there's so many times where I'll have to rewind something just to hold my, and you can always see my reflection in the damn
yeah,
shot. It is
yeah.
so ridiculous. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not like you can't screenshot it off your computer because they
No.
black it out when you try to do that. So I had to do that. And my daughter goes, "What are you doing?" I go, "Listen to this," and I was like, "My Craigie is talking about 90 Day Fiance," but then
You
it
call
didn't.
him my Craigie, Mary Payne?
Craigie,
Oh
I
God.
love Craig. I do. I love him, and I love him, and I just thought, is this the crossover? We don't know. Could Craig find a hot Brazilian woman to marry him?
Paige dumped him, and then Craig next season winds up on 90 Day Fiance. Well,
Yeah, yeah,
would
yeah.
well, I mean, I guess you're saying. I mean, he's correct. Shep and Sienna from Southern Charm. There is a 90 day. If that had actually worked out, that could
It
have been
would
a 90 Day Fiance storyline.
totally. It's not a United States province. They would have to get a visa, K-1 visa.
Yeah.
But no, she
Uh,
doesn't like him at all.
No, not at all. I
No,
mean,
she
really.
hates
I mean,
him. She
and
hates
but
him really.
isn't that the great thing? Like in real life, we can always like kind of laser like precision tell our friends what's wrong with their lives or what's going on. But it's the same with reality television. We see that we're like, oh, that girl doesn't like Shep at all, like at all. But Shep can't see that, and we can never see our own issues or our like. And Shep wants to live in this dream world where he just has to fight a little harder because deep down she is as madly in love with him as he is with her. And I don't feel bad for Shep because Shep obviously has done his own things throughout the 10 seasons of Southern Charm. But like, it is wild. It was the best episode this season, I think.
Yeah. He was like, she said this. And then they showed I was like, you know, without speaking of life, wouldn't that be terrible in life if you're like, no, because remember when I was talking to the guy, he said this, and then they just roll a clip behind you of what the guy actually said. And I'm like, oh,
That's
I heard that
well, Mary Payne.
wrong.
That's what purgatory is going to be like. By the way, that's you trying to get into heaven.
Yeah.
They're going to play. There was a great movie, Defending Your Life, with Albert Brooks,
Mm.
where they pick like 3 moments from your life where you have to defend. And could you imagine those moments of your life? Like having to see at the pearly gates, like Shep has to see him writing that text message to Sienna, and he has
Oh.
to defend that when like every moment that he would see, like, yeah, she's obviously not into you, dude.
Oh, God, that was so cringy. It was so cringy. I was like, "Oh, Shep. Oh," and it was just and every time Austin had to hear it like 3 times. He's like, "Oh, every time."
Austin and Craig's faces, I mean, that was high comedy,
So
just their
good.
reactions. And I think that is sometimes the benefit of investing so much into a reality television show like we do with these shows,
Yeah.
where those small moments pay off in spades just with reaction shots. You don't even need dialogue. You
Yeah,
just need like, ugh. Like
so
Austin's
good.
laying in bed, hung over, and he's like, his eyes are closed, and then he hits like your little freckled lips, and then Austin's eyes swing open, like, "Zugh."
He's like, "Don't ever should have gotten a second opinion before you sent that." Like, that was and then she just writes back like, "Okay." You
But I
know?
keep thinking, but Mary Payne, haven't you been like that? Where I was talking about this earlier. It was like where you're just so sure in your head. You're like, I got to fire this off. I know exactly what I want to say. And then you fire it off and you're all proud. And then it kind of, you sit with it for a couple of hours. You've not shown it to anybody, but you start getting this weird feeling that maybe it isn't as good as you thought it was. And like, that's all we've all had an experience, maybe
Yeah.
not with a girl or a guy, but just in life where you spend like
Yeah.
a work email and you just think it's brilliant. And then it just turns out it's pure shit.
Yeah, or you think you're being, like, funny, but it just doesn't translate, sometimes in texting or email if the person doesn't know you and you're trying to be, like, snarky or funny, and that happens to me a lot where I'm like, "Ooh, oh, that wasn't cute
How,
at
do you
all." I
wait?
don't
This
know.
is not on show, but do you use a lot of emojis in text messaging?
No.
Okay,
I
yeah,
use
I don't.
some, but I don't put, like,
Yeah.
3 in a row or anything.
Do you have a favorite emoji?
Do I have a favorite? Okay, I like the one that is just the yellow circle with the mouth going like that. I
Yeah.
do that a lot, like, "Sorry, I was 10 minutes late,
My
I do
dad
that.
uses way too many emojis for like a 75-year-old
Really?
man. And he always uses like the crazy eye one, like where one eye's this way and one eye's that way. And it kind of was like, well, maybe I need to rethink me using emojis because he uses them so much. But it's cute in a sense. So it's like I feel like emojis are for kids or for like older people.
It's funny because my dad's 86, and he uses a lot of emojis, but then we figured out he had turned that thing on his phone, like, predicative text.
So
So
it's
he was
emojiing
like
for him.
yeah, like, is it snowing there?" But it'd be like, "Is it snowflake there?" It would just turn every word into the emoji, and he would just instead of you could bypass that. And my dad's name is Bones. Okay, that's his nickname,
That's a
Bones.
badass name.
Yeah, and
Wow.
he every time he would sign it, it would be like a bone. And I'm like, "Okay, dad, I think that turn the emoji predicative text off because I don't think you wanna like, usually this is my dad actually like, "Okay, comma, love bones," or "Sounds good, comma, love bones." Like, he does it like a letter every time. "Okay, love bones, sounds good, love bone, sure thing, love bones." Now it's like, "Okay," so it'll just be like, thumbs up, heart, bone. And I'm like, "Okay, you gotta take that off." Okay, this is not
um,
like a game that I can figure out. I don't my brain doesn't work this way, Dad. Maybe it is
um,
an old people thing.
I don't know. It's just something that I just always notice, and it always makes me rethink my emoji use when I
Mm.
see my dad using it too much, or I'm like, well, maybe I need to chill out a little bit on the emojis. I was thinking, like, you have like a family, a successful marriage. You don't live in Los Angeles or New York. How did you get into all of this in the first place? How? Because obviously this is a very uncommon job. I fell into it, obviously based on my love of pop culture and television. But what was your road to get here? Because nobody, I think, sets out. I mean, maybe now they do, but like, I don't think I ever thought I want to have a successful podcast.
No, I started my podcast, Pain in the Pod, that you came on, and then you came
Mhm.
when we did a re-listen, last year as
Yeah.
well, a flashback. Um, so I Pain in the Pod because I really just loved podcasts. So I started a podcast, Pain in the Pod, where I just interviewed podcasters about their podcasts, which by the way, still a great idea. Still wish I could do it more. Because a lot of times you listen to these like long form podcasts, the story of it, and I was actually really wanting to know like what went into that, like if you watch a documentary, I want to know like how long, I mean, how long
Yeah.
people like 2 years they work on like a 6 episode podcast. So that's what I was really interested in. And then I started talking to podcasters that covered reality TV like you, and I talked to like Heather McDonald and to people
Were
that
you
did.
already watching a lot of reality
Oh,
television?
yeah, yeah, yeah,
Okay.
yeah,
Okay.
yeah. Oh, yeah, yeah, yeah. I was like and once I started talking about it, I was like, "Well, this is what I've been training my whole life. I just didn't know what I've been training for, but I was training for this." So I started going on as a guest on, some podcasts, but I would go on a lot on Pink Shade when it was Pink Shade with Aaron, and I would
Yeah.
go on as a guest a lot to talk about, like, Vanderpump Rules. I was like, "Nobody knows more about Vanderpump Rules than me. I would love to come on." So, and it was like a little cross promotion. And then eventually we started the spinoff podcast, Hey Bunky, which was just on Patreon. And then eventually she left Pink Shade and then I took it over. And by then it was just full. I'd given up the Pain in the Pod and it was just full reality TV. But I do still try to interview podcasters about their podcast, not as much as I would like to. But I am doing that sort of rewind series where I had you back on. I think I had Kate Casey back on. I think I'm going to do Heather this year. Try to have people listen to what we talked about in 2018, 2019, and then let's talk about it now. And strangely, not much has changed.
Yeah, I mean,
No.
God, well, first off, you realize there's not enough hours in the day, like for all of your
Mhm.
interests. You can't throw
Mhm.
everything into one thing. And I still make that mistake so much because I get excited about everything and there's so much good stuff to talk about. But you are like, it is fascinating. Like I'm reading this book on Lorne Michaels right now about
Yeah,
SNL
the
and the
good I
creation.
wanna read that.
I really, yeah, I love it, but I also just love stories about like people building things and like, things that become monoliths in pop culture, which SNL did.
Yeah.
But it's interesting with podcasts because you think about that of like, I was thinking about like, oh, wouldn't it be great to have a documentary about Watch What Crappens? But then I was like, it might be and it might not because it's such a stationary art. It is like we're sitting in our chairs right now, we're having this conversation, and then we're going to have three more of these conversations tonight, maybe with different
Mhm.
people, maybe solo. And it's not like dynamic action because it's all in front of a microphone. So
Yeah.
you could follow them out on tour and maybe follow that craziness. Or I know
Yeah.
you just went to Heather McDonald's live show, which
Yeah.
that might be a fun documentary. But the process itself, I mean, I think I've tried to romanticize it at times, but it's not something to romanticize. We're just sitting out here watching shows and talking about it and trying to make ourselves and each other laugh.
Yeah, I mean, I was a guest this morning on, Reality Court, which is with Ace Fanning and, Anna Kinkosis that was on Real
From Real
Housewives
Housewives
of
of
Atlanta.
Miami.
Yeah, and I was a guest and I'm a guest on this, and then I'm recording my own podcast today, 2 episodes, and so I just told my family, I was like, "I'm recording at 11, I'm recording at 4, I'm recording at 5, and I'm recording at 6." And then after that, nobody better ask me to make dinner because and they're like, "We wouldn't. We're not. We don't all wanna die in this house tonight." So I was like, "When I get done, there better be some dinner. I don't care what
Yeah, make Mary Payne at dinner for the love of God.
somebody."
Do you
Yeah.
do you ever feel like uh when oh, that was a good one, or that,
Oh,
like,
yeah.
because sometimes that's the other thing I had to break myself of like being too precious about something of like, oh, because sometimes the goal is to try to get to a point where I'm laughing stupidly at myself because I'm so dumb in like an imitation that I think it's so silly,
Right.
and I'll be like, oh, that was really fun. But do you still think about stuff like that, and like how much does audience interaction affect how you record?
I think it's funny that you say that because, like, earlier, we were talking about the conversation with Keisha about the towels, and you're just like it was we were laughing so hard in that whole episode, and I couldn't even really tell you why, like, that conversation stuck out because it was just her being, like, horrified at how
Yeah.
disgusting I am to wash my towels once a week, and I'm like, "Why are you so weird and wash your towels every other day?" And yes, I walk away from some of these things like, "Okay, that was a funny episode." And not because, like, I'm so funny, but just, like, it was funny, like, the banter was
Yeah, like
funny,
I had
the
a good
show
feel.
was
I have a
funny.
good
Yeah,
feeling. Like that's it exactly. You'll walk away sometimes with a good feeling, and you're like, "Well, I hope people like it." And I don't know. And sometimes I'm completely wrong, but I still have that good feeling, and that's the thing that you're not necessarily chasing, but it's still nice to have. Have you
yeah.
noticed since you started with Pain in the Pod? Have you noticed a different difference in how listeners approach listening to podcasts?
Mm. Yeah, I think that and we've learned this and going to these podcast conferences and stuff,
Yeah, I've
that
never been to one of these podcast conferences. What are we missing out on? What did you learn?
you should have gone to the LA one, you were right there. Um,
Do you
um,
know me? I don't even know how to listen. I should talk to Keisha. I don't even know how to wipe my own butt. Like this is if it's not on a podcast, I don't know how to do it. So what did you learn?
we learned that, that Spotify was, like, the biggest way of listening for people.
Really?
It was taking over Apple, but what was also super interesting about it was the video, content. Now, you've been doing video for a long time, you kinda do it for everything, whereas I always do it with, Keisha on Mondays, and then sometimes, Kimberly and I'll log on Tuesdays to do 90 Day, and she's like, "Oh god, are we doing video?" I'm like, "We don't have to." But I've got it for clips, right, if I wanna do reels. And now she got mad at me about that. She's like, "You didn't tell me." And I was like, "Well, I remember when Ryan Bailey did that to me one time, didn't tell me we're gonna be on video." And I'm just like eating, just like sitting back, like, "What's up, Ryan?" Um, but you're like, "I always assume it's on video." I was like, "That's because 'cause you're a guy. That's
Yeah,
because 'cause you're a
like
guy."
I'm
Yeah.
literally wearing underwear right now. Like you
Yeah, oh,
can see
well.
me from the top up, and
Yeah.
I am like
Yeah.
it's all gross. So
I
um,
slept in this. Yeah. But
yeah,
no,
you. By the way, yeah, you were the one that told me like I am a woman. I need time. Like, and I was like, point taken. That is very fair.
I just need to know. But, I think what has changed is the YouTube aspect of it where it's not expected, but it does help, and it's another sort of revenue stream, and by revenue stream, I mean, like, I think in 2024, I made, like, $80 on YouTube, like, total. So it's not like a huge revenue stream. For some people it is, but because we're just sort of dipping our toe in and just kinda put the link in the show notes, like, it's there if you wanna
Yeah. Yeah.
it's there, but people really actually do want to watch it, which is weird because 'cause I've never watched a podcast in my life.
See that, and that's it's a younger generation, but also, I mean,
Uh,
obviously, all different age groups are watching this. But I don't pay attention to those kind of numbers. Like, I know we do well on Apple Podcasts. I don't think we make that big of a dent on Spotify, which I know is like a lot of. But I wouldn't know how to get people. Like, okay, cool. Like, listen on Spotify. That, like, I don't even know.
yeah.
Like, we'll throw it up on YouTube, but I mean, and Maritza is amazing at that. But other than that, like, it's there. Like, it's there if you want it. Like, I don't know how to.
To,
I'm
like,
not the
promote it or
best.
make it a
Yeah,
thing.
I'm
Yeah.
not the best town crier about like, hear ye, so bad it's good. I'd rather shout out other people. And so that's why, like, the film of it all, I'm going to, like, it'll be on my tombstone. I wish I had known how to do the film aspect of all of this better because
I have
I
no
got into
idea.
this for just the audio version.
Yeah, I didn't get into it because I'm a looker that needs to be seen. I'm just like I just like to, like, talk and
Well,
be
no,
funny.
you are
Yeah.
attractive, but I just don't. I don't like to look at myself.
No, me either.
I don't like to look at myself out of the shower. Like, you think I'm going to look at myself every day on a Zoom screen? You think this is fun? No.
I don't like it when, the reels get made or, like, I send it, to
Oh,
Caitlin who
okay.
does my reels, and then she sends it to me, and she does, like, funny things where she zooms in. I'm like, "Girl,
Oh, I've
don't
seen
zoom
the
in
well,
on
no.
my
See,
waddle."
I've been in clips of yours, and it's like they're always funny clips. And I don't mean like I'm being funny, but like I'll hit a reaction of me where I'm like, Your damn face, just screwing this
I
all up.
know, I
Your
know.
like I hate looking at my face. So, anyways,
We're not
sorry, guys.
podcasters because we
Yeah,
wanted to be
but
YouTubers. That's the
by the
point.
way,
But now we are.
so we're talking shop here, but let's get
Yeah.
back to reality.
Okay.
I started this off with 90 Day Fiance and Craig. We just had the second episode of 90 Day Fiance, the
Mm.
original iteration of 90 Day Fiance. We came off of before the 90 Day season, which I think by the end, their 8-part reunion or whatever it was got way into the weeds. How are you feeling about 90 Day Fiance? Because we have returning couple
Mhm.
Sarper, like Sarper's back, but we have a bunch of new couples as well. How are you feeling, and who are the ones to watch?
Well, Sarper and Shekinah, you just watch out. They're in LA. Just watch out.
Well, and
Watch out.
I think we both talked to Shekinah at one point, and obviously I didn't realize he was here, but I was like, when's he coming to Beverly Hills? I guess he was already here. I didn't know that.
Yeah, he's around. Be careful. But I mean, I was like, he won't even stand out in Beverly Hills.
Oh,
He'll look just like everybody else. Well,
he's like a living
Kendall.
Turkish Kindle. Yeah.
Yeah. Mhm. Okay, so we've got Jessica and Juan, and they are returning because they were on Caribbean Love, and
So
they were
there
on.
was a 90 Day Fiance Caribbean Love. That's what it was called.
That's a spinoff, and they met. It's just all people in the Caribbean that find. So
I love, yeah.
yeah, they had another one that was like Island Love or whatever. That because that person was like somewhere in Italy. I was like, well, it can't be Caribbean.
And she
So
has 3 kids, right? And one of the kids is
it's
his.
his, yeah. And they live in Torrington, Wyoming, which, by the way, I mean, fun fact, my nephew just moved from there because my nephew is a cowboy. So that's the only people that live in that town. It's 6,000 people in the town. It's like the cow manure capital of the world. And this guy's
Oh,
from Colombia coming off living on a cruise ship for 4 years, being nothing but blue
in the
seas. And
Caribbean.
yeah. And
And
now
he's
he's
in
going to
the
be
cow
living.
manure capital of the world, which I'm
Yeah.
sure is a huge tourist attraction. But I was watching the first episode, and she was out with her 2 girlfriends at, like, I think the local department store, which
Yeah.
might be the only department store, trying to find him like a good Carhartt jacket to
Right.
like. But like, what? I mean, what are these people thinking, Mary Payne? I get nervous every season because I'm like, there's no this. There should be somebody needs to put a stop to this. That's my feeling every first episode of 90 Day Fiance.
I know, but I believe in their love,
You
and
do?
I do. And there's another couple on there that we really believe. Now, listen, I'll be so listen, catch back up with me in about 10, 12 weeks. I'll be like, oh my God, I hate everybody. When's it going to be over? But right now, I have that happy feeling that I always get at the beginning.
You're seeing the stars are in your eyes at this point still.
I'm
Okay.
feeling happy. There's another couple, Stevie, who's a girl from Mississippi girl. We got to love, and her guy, his name is Maddie, is from Iran.
Yes.
And
And
I
then
believe in their love.
okay, well,
I
you okay?
do.
We need if anybody's in Mary Payne's, we need a wellness check on Mary Payne at some point. She has not eaten. She probably is going to have to make her own dinner tonight. But just to
Right.
let you know, he met this lady. She was teaching English classes
Yeah.
online, I believe,
Yes.
and her dad hates Iranians.
No, 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 no. Wait, 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 wait,
it
wait.
feels like
No.
he does
Well, I
in the
listen
first
first.
episode.
He he was just his concern is that is a the way they were talking about it, it was like 2 5-year-olds in kindergarten. I was like, they don't like us. They, it's sort of like that
Yeah.
little boy doesn't like you. They weren't saying like the countries have a long-standing, international issue. It's sort of like that country doesn't like our country.
But by the way, it's a very real way in how people understand politics and
To-
geopolitical
And
things.
it's
Like that's a
true.
basic conversation. Yeah.
And it's true. He said they don't have an embassy in Iran anymore. It's a museum now, which is just filled with like shredded American flags. I mean, he said it. So it's correct. And the dad is right to be concerned in that aspect. But the dad also, I felt like for, a old school Mississippi elderly man, of which I know many, I felt like he was pretty open. He was just like, well, you love him and you done okay. And he said, I'm only concerned that he's going to come over here and it has the mindset of women have to be subservient and women aren't
Yeah.
allowed to
Because she
have a
was like, are
role.
you going to have to wear the,
Uh,
what did he say? What
well,
did
he called it a
he
jihad,
yeah, he
but
called it, are you going to have to wear the jihad, which is the hijab? Like,
yeah,
I thought that
he
was
said
odd.
he said jihad instead of
Jihad. Yeah. And she's
hijab.
like, no, dad, I'm not going to have to do that. But he's also sick. Doesn't he have like cancer?
Yes, but Kimberly just told me today that she's been following Stevie on Instagram and that he seems to still be with us and doing fine, which
Okay,
is
good.
great. That was good. I put in a request to interview her just because anytime anybody's from Mississippi, I'm like, well, I gotta talk to them, and I'll be
So
very
you
interested.
believe in their love. You believe in their love.
I
And
do.
how do you think he's going to react to America? And especially because he finds out that the dad is not aware until like the day before he got here
Well,
that
that's
they
not
were
his fault.
actually I know it's not his fault at all,
Yeah,
but
yeah,
could you
yeah.
imagine already being scared to come to a new country or excited to come to a new country? You think you found the love of your life if you believe in the concept of the show, and then you find out, I just told my family about you yesterday.
I know. I hate when they do that. That happens all the time on this show, and they're like, they
Do you
get
think
so
production tells
afraid.
them to keep it secret? Like, don't don't tell your family until the day before.
No, because she had told her mom and her sisters. They just didn't tell dad. They're like, he's
And
sick,
also
and
to
we don't
do it
want to put
on
any stress on him.
camera. But to do it,
That
I don't want to put stress on him and then do it on camera.
well, here's my question. It's talking about going behind the scenes and what production's trying to make us think and all that. Here's my question that I can't wait to ask her. What did you tell your dad you were filming? That's what I always want to know when they come in with these surprises on any
Love is
show.
blind. Love is blind. That's why. That's
What?
it. Love is blind. Yeah.
Because on Love Is Blind too, they're not only allowed to really tell one person where they are. So when they come back, they're like, not only was I not at a yoga retreat, I'm now engaged. Like, huh? Same thing.
Uh, okay. So
What?
who else do we have on this season that you're excited about?
Okay, so I'm excited about Stevie and Maddie. And it was so funny when he was like, that boy's name is Maddie. And she was like, Dad, my name is Stevie. And he's like, oh, yeah. It was so good. Let me see here because I just have my notes pulled up because I was just talking about. Well, we've
Well,
got a
because
fake
we have
thruple.
the
We've got a fake
Oh,
thruple.
okay. So yeah, this is interesting. There was a married couple that found a third. They were going to be the first throuple in 90 Day Fiance history. And
Fake.
this lady that they found has children, I believe, I think multiple children, and they want to get divorced so this guy can marry her on the K1 visa and bring her over. Why are you saying this is fake? And by the way, I'm thrilled that you're saying it's fake because if it's real, I was going to throw myself out of a window.
No. So first of all, they keep saying, well, she lives in Tijuana. Okay, first of all, they live in San Diego. So, do the math. That's like 45 minutes away. So it's not like she lives in Brazil and they have to get to her.
Well, with traffic and stuff, Mary Payne, that's a lot. I mean,
I mean,
I'm
they
kidding.
they met her when they went to like a swingers club and there she
Yeah.
was.
By the way, these
Yeah.
people are like they're of a certain look. You guys, if you see them, you'll know what I mean immediately. I don't even know how to describe. It's very
She's a little Kardashian light.
yeah,
She's yeah,
sure,
yeah, yeah,
yes,
yeah, yeah, yeah.
yeah.
And the girlfriend has adult braces, as you do, which we love adult braces on our shows. I think it's fake. They've been on other reality shows, and
Oh, they what other reality shows have they been on?
somebody sent me the list and I was like, okay, they've been on like one or
Wait,
two
the
other shows.
list?
Yeah, they've been on like two other shows. So they've been trying to get on TV. And I don't actually think that these people with two little girls are gonna like go on TV and kind of do all this and divorce each other. I no, for a girl that lives 45 minutes away, no, I
Well,
don't think
Rebecca and I were
so.
talking. Why didn't this couple wind up on what is it? What was that
Seeking
other
Sister Wife.
Seeking Sister Wife? Like
Yeah,
why? Because we were like, it's a very this is a better looking version of that guy that
the
wears the
the Merrifields. Mhm.
yeah,
The
exactly. That's what I
Merrifields,
was like.
yeah. Mhm.
Yeah. Which,
Garrick.
by the way, when is
Mhm.
it? Wait, Garrick. Yeah. When does that new
Garrick.
season come out? Do you know?
I don't know, with these lesser TLC shows, they spring them on us. They don't usually, like you get like send out press releases and stuff like the
Because they
Baldwins and
know
all
that
this. It's
they
they're
know
just like
people will be very upset, so they just spring it on you.
they're
Yeah.
like Seeking Sister Wife's coming out next week. I'm like, wait a minute.
I
Yeah.
like Sneaking Sister Wife.
Oh,
It's
I love
very
it.
highly watchable. It's a
Love
great.
it.
It's actually a very viewable show.
Love it.
But you think this is a fake thing, so it's not something that you need to have.
Totally.
But that's the interesting blend of 90 Day Fiance is that you'll have ones that you're like, this is painfully real, and then there's ones like, we've already followed Shekinah and Sarper, and you're like, you're on your own island over here, and then
Hmm.
you have ones that are like fake, like this thruple. So it is this interesting barrage, but then the interesting thing is to predict who TLC is going to put in their other 90 Day Fiance iterations, because
Right.
now they have the Last Resort, which you cover on Pink Shade, which
Hmm.
is like a resort with a bunch of your favorite or most hated 90 Day Fiance
Yeah.
couples.
All
What did
that.
you think of Gino and what's her name?
Jasmine.
She's
Jasmine.
Jasmine,
Hmm.
married and has a baby with a new dude.
Well, they're not married. She's still married to Gino.
Oh,
And then she immediately put out she changed their Instagram that was Gino and Jasmine. She changed it to like Gino and Jasmine and Matt, like the new guy. I don't think Gino's on board with this.
how is Gino doing? Do you know?
I don't care. I mean, Jake and I met them at one of those TLC
Yeah.
parties.
Yes. Yeah.
But Jake and Matt of Reality Gaze had them on. They were doing a live show wherever they live in Michigan, and they had them come on. And their feeling that they got was that like because she was very quiet and sweet, they really got like Gina was like her manager. And I was like, so do you think it's been like fake all along? And he's like, and they're like, no, we don't think it's been fake all along, but it definitely seems like they are in a business relationship. And this was last year. This is, they were like, it doesn't seem like they're like a couple anymore. It just seems like they're keeping it going, probably to be on TV.
And just to remind you, they had a very Married with Children Al Bundy thing where he didn't really want to ever have sex with her. But then at one point, I believe this is why you got to love 90 Day Fiance. He let her pee on him.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. He'd like to be peed on. He liked
Well, I don't think
any.
he liked. I think he just like I allowed her to do that, right? Or was
No,
that
no,
a
no,
kink, a
no.
full kink?
A full kink.
Full,
Full kink, full
full
kink, full kink. Yeah, and now they haven't had sex in a really long time. So she is under this guise of I want to open up the marriage and have an open marriage so I can get sex from somebody and be married to you. All of this also we think is completely fake, and they're on 90-day last resort to like sort of ease us into their breakup because we also have understanding through a person on Reddit, a Reddit guy. Somebody was sitting next to Gino at a table wherever they live in Michigan, and he was telling the person all about the tell-all and how she comes out pregnant with Matt, and that Florian like throws a shoe at her, and yeah,
when is the tell all? When does the tell all start?
So we look. I'll tell you right now. I got it right here on my ad
Because by the way,
schedule.
you can stream all these TLC shows on Max next
Yeah.
day as well if
Hmm.
you can't catch them or don't have them on your DVR.
So last resort goes until March 24th. And then it's a long time away.
Last
And then,
Resort till March 24th. That's a long season.
yeah, it is. Yeah, it is. And then I think they were going to have two tell-alls, but now they're having three. Yeah. And I don't know
and
if
there's
they spliced it into three or if there's going to be like a part of it that they filmed after with all this
and then Sean
baby
Robinson
stuff.
still does all the tell-alls, right?
No one can be less interested than her, but yes.
I have a theory. Sean Robinson is AI. Like I feel like she might be a human AI because, or just like I know that the checks must clear, but sometimes I just don't even know if she watches the show.
Hadn't watched a minute. Mm-mm.
she's from actual journalism, so it's a
Yeah.
wild place to wind up, I'm sure, dealing with like Angela and Michael and like that's a wild curveball in your career.
She's just sitting there with her cards, like
You're going to
with
see
her
the
cards.
cards shake one day because she's about
Yes.
to lose it. She's going to go off one day and just explode on set.
She never ever once has ever come up with a question like off the dome, like, "Oh, let me follow up with that." Like, "Wait,
Yeah.
what?" She just never follows up. Like they'll be like, "Yeah, and so what we decided was my mom's going to come live with us and my husband has to go sleep in the guest room because my mom and I have to sleep together." And then she goes, "That's wonderful. We wish you luck." And you're like, instead of going like, "Wait, what?" The husband has to move out. She
Guys,
doesn't follow up.
if you watch TLC, you know exactly what Mary Payne's talking about. I'm almost in tears because it's so true. Like,
Nothing.
it's the most insane things that are being talked about, and her blood pressure never hits, like, never spikes at all. She is just robotic, and I don't like, it's wild. I do want to
It's
end
crazy.
today with the Baldwins, which you will be covering this week. And
Yeah.
I watched last night's premiere episode.
Yeah.
It gave me a panic attack at one point, I think,
Because of all the children.
because of all the I mean, just the
Mhm.
whole thing. It was all the animals, the fact
Mhm.
that he was deathly allergic to cats, so she kept
Mhm.
getting cats.
Uh-huh.
I am.
Smart.
There is. It's kind of like Severance or Lost, where I'm like, it answered a lot of questions, but it actually there's a lot more questions that I have now. What
Yeah.
did you think overall?
Well, first of all, my plan was because I'm so, we're inundated with all these other shows that I'm covering. I was like, but I can't not. I love my
Yeah,
TLC.
this is
Yeah.
interesting.
So I was like, and so, oh, okay. So I think what I'll just do, my first thought, I'll just kind of lightly talk about it on the show that comes out Tuesdays. People have a chance to, no, I watched it last night. I go, nope, it's going to have to be a full episode. I'm going to have to
There's a
fully
lot
cover
there
it.
to unpack. There's a lot there to unpack because you get to go in their apartment in New York. You get to
Yeah.
go into their Hamptons place.
Woo!
We're about to find out if he's guilty for the
Yeah.
Rust shooting.
They talk about her accent.
She brushes it off like it's like she brushes it off like it's our fault. Like it is like, you know what?
Yes.
It's very sad how people reacted to this because I'm very proud of being bilingual and raised in a bilingual household, and it's very sad how some people try to make me feel. And she says it so resolutely, where you're like, we're horrible people, but you don't realize how insane everything that she had kept going. Like she would be introduced as somebody from Spain, and
Yeah.
she like if she wanted to put an end to that, go like, no, let me correct you. I just actually grew up in a bilingual household. We have a
Yeah.
great appreciation for Spain. I'm from Boston. Never once did that until it all exploded. And the reality show was really interesting, but I don't think they're going to ever dive into it the way that everybody else has dived into it.
No, they mentioned it. So on the first episode, they talk about what he's going through with the trial and everything for the shooting, and I thought it was pretty compelling. And when they had literally like we're watching a Dateline episode where they had the interrogation room footage of the camera from the corner when they told him that the woman had died that he
Oh, that
shot,
was
and he was like,
yes,
he just.
yes.
I was like, this is like Dateline and TLC and all these things combined. It's compelling to also see from when they've been together, which is 12, 13 years at this point, from when they got together to now, how he looks like he is aged 35 years. And I'm not even trying to be mean because he's
Well,
such a
we
good
just kept
looking
saying the
guy.
eye, like, dude, you can do a lower bleph on those eyes,
He
Rebecca
needs
told me.
a
And
lower
like,
and an upper.
why aren't we doing that? Because, like, I know money might be tight, but come on, man.
No.
Like, you are a movie star. You were known at one point for your look. I mean, you're also a great actor, but it is wild to think, like, I just really want to know what he's really thinking. Like, what the F did I do with my life? Or is he fully drinking all of this Kool-Aid?
No,
Because,
I
by
think
the way,
he's
they're
drinking the
both
Kool-Aid. I think he's
okay.
drinking the Kool-Aid, but I think the reason like his face is all that, I think is the him
Stress.
explaining the depression and the stress and the PTSD. I think a lot of that. I mean, I think he was looking a little puffy before that, but even when you see pictures of him on that movie sex, they were showing some footage of that. He didn't look as bad as he looks now, and that's been like 2 years. I think the stress of what happened in the trial and addition to having 8 animals and 7 children and 2 nannies, all of that I think that'll wear you completely out, and I think
I didn't know, like, I knew about the kids, didn't know the 8 animals. Like, what a way to, and animals are amazing, beautiful, all of that stuff. But like, too much of something, like, I couldn't, that was when I started like getting like panicky. Like I was like, oh
Yeah,
my God. And the apartment, he is a 5 bedroom apartment in Manhattan, which is awesome, but they live there by themselves without any kids. And now they have 7 kids plus Ireland. And you feel how cramped it is. And then they have this beautiful Hamptons house where I was like, okay, this is more like it. Here we go. This is the Ritz that I'm looking for.
they should live in the Hamptons. There's no reason for them to live in New York City like that. There's no reason. He could go
But
back
isn't
and
it?
forth.
I just kept watching it thinking like, you think sometimes with these shows or like Alec Baldwin, even with all of the drama, you think, oh, we're going to see some real aspirational living here,
Uh-huh.
and that is
Yeah.
not the case at all. Who knows if this is just a storyline? The first episode, they take all the kids, including Alec, to get a haircut at just this run of the mill haircut, like a fantastic
Barbershop. Mhm.
Sam's, like a
Mhm.
real barbershop. And it is very interesting to think about the reality of their lives. But I also still get this, like that Hillary wants to be a star.
Yeah, she is interesting to look at. I've probably never heard her speak more than a couple of sentences or the clips, famous clips you've seen of her. So I've never heard her talk a lot. The way that they brought up the fake accent was because they were each trying to tell a story, doing like talking head together, and she was a little bit like talking really fast. And he goes, "Okay, stop." He goes, "So you're speaking English with a Spanish cadence really fast, and you know how it's perilous." So he's like, I think he's trying to say you don't need to do that on camera, right? I
Yeah,
think he's
yeah,
trying to say
yeah,
that that's not going to look
yeah.
good for you. You need to quit because remember, we're only speaking English now. Remember, we're only using our Boston accent, not our Spanish accent. So I think he's trying to get her not to do it by saying that. He goes, but you got to stop with that. And then she's like, goes over to the one of the kids and goes, something, something, donde es gato? I was like, where's the cat?
I'm like Casa de Pepe. You interview a lot of these TLC show reality stars. Did you try to get anybody from the Baldwins on Pink Shade? Like, was that offered
No.
at all, or was that like, hey, promote the Baldwins? Because I've been talking about this for the
Mm-mm.
last year and people think I'm crazy that I wanted to watch this, but I'm like, wait a second, it intersects with everything that I kind of am interested in, like pop
Yeah.
culture, movies, TV. This dude was a bona fide movie star, won Emmys on 30 Rock.
Yeah.
And, you have, it's like 19 kids and counting. It's like that TLC crossover is wild. Did they try to get you to interview anybody, or did you want to?
No, I mean, I reached out to my TLC contact and just said, I'd love to be able to get screeners. I am going to cover it. And so they said, great. And they sent me the screeners. And then it didn't work because they've got some sort of new system. And you know how it is. You got to do the thing and you got to do the code on your phone. And then they got to text you. And then it's like to get a screener, it's like they want to
Well,
really
yeah, you
make
guys,
sure.
they make you get an authenticator app, you
Yeah.
guys, and so you have to be sitting in front of your computer. You have to open up the app. It's a
It's,
whole because they're very protective of their
yeah.
intellectual property. I get it. Yeah.
But normally with TLC, like 90-day screeners, they just pop right up. It wasn't all this. This was a more like a Bravo situation where there's a couple of levels. And so I wrote and just said, like a couple of days ago, because I was trying to get my notes done over the weekend, and I just wrote and said, like, hey, just letting you know, like it's not working for me. And I've tried it. I did it on my iPad and on my computer. I tried it a couple of different places. And they over the weekend, the girl wrote me back immediately, goes, we want you to be able to see it. How can we help? So it wasn't like they were. I can usually get the feeling if they're kind of brushing me off, they really don't care, because I'm little potatoes for a show like that. I didn't ask to interview anyone because I mean, what am I going to interview
Yeah.
Alec Baldwin? I mean,
Could you imagine? Could you
no.
imagine? I
Mm-mm.
mean,
I can imagine you doing it because you talk to like big
uh,
celebrities, but I can't
yeah,
imagine
no,
me
I mean,
doing it.
but I wouldn't. Well, but there's a thing. Like, I also don't think I would want to talk to him about a reality. I don't know. It's like weird. I'd want to talk to him about like the start of his career and
Right.
like like it would be weird to be like, what's it like to be on the same network as Sister Wives and 90 Day Fiance?
And
Like, are
my 1,000 pound sisters. Are you caught up on 1,000 pound sisters? I
are
mean,
you taking a vacation to Coyote Pass anytime
yeah,
soon, Alec?
yeah,
Um,
yeah,
But
yeah,
you're going to be covering full episodes. So
yeah.
I'm not doing full episodes over there. So make sure if you want to keep up on the show to do Pink Shade, they'll be
Please.
covering that over there because I'm going to be watching this every week. Like it is now added to my roster.
No, it's
I,
good.
I didn't hate it and I didn't like, it's just a real interesting viewing experience. And I'm very interested to see where it goes and how they portray it. And if we see any of Alec Baldwin's anger towards paparazzi pop
Mhm.
up, or we
Mhm.
see that I didn't realize he had OCD and he wants everything very clean. That was interesting, I thought.
That was interesting. Let me tell you what, if you've got OCD with 1 kid, you're gonna have a real hard time. If you have 7 kids and 8 animals, I don't know how you need to really, he needs to have his own separate place to live. Like,
What
that's rough.
what were the conversations around Kid Five? Like, I know they brushed past it on the first episode, but I was like, dude, you know how much it costs for private school for one kid? Are you kidding me?
But you know that remember that just kind of randomly they had a baby by surrogate, and then she had another baby almost at the same time.
Yeah, yeah, yeah,
They have
yeah.
2 they have 2
They
3-year-olds that are not twins.
Rebecca was telling me about this that like she was all up on the Ilaria stuff back in the
Mhm.
day, but she was like, yeah, like but she's never fully talked about that, like very openly about the surrogacy.
That because she had another baby at the same time and was also had a surrogate pregnant, so she's got a 3-year-old daughter because they were listing out the kids, a 3-year-old daughter and a 3-year-old son. Um, so
Did you hear how this went? Did you hear how it did it do well? Did it get good ratings?
I don't know, and see, that's the kinda thing I don't follow.
See,
Somebody
I'm
could
just
tell
so
me
curious.
12 people watched it or 4,000,000, I'd be like, "Okay, I still
Yeah,
watched it,"
I'm just
you know?
curious what would be considered a hit nowadays, and if
Mm,
they would already be considering a second season, or if the Baldwins will be like, you know what, we did one season and enough,
right.
or if they want to continue with it. So that's what I'm curious. So
Yeah,
see if you can find out because I'm
I can
really
find out.
curious.
I'll
Yeah.
find out, I'll let you know.
What else is coming up for you? Because you are as busy as I am. Pink Shade, we want to follow him on Instagram. We want to subscribe to him on YouTube. We want to do all of the things, listen on Spotify, rate 5 stars, all of that stuff that you hear
Wow,
us yell
thanks.
about all the time.
Yeah.
But what else do we have coming up that you want people to be aware of?
Well, the best show on television other than 90 Day Last Resort is coming up, and that is Temptation Island,
Dude, who
March
else
12th.
was talking about that? Was it Amy Archer was talking about this, or somebody was like
She's
saying
covering it with me.
Temptation? Okay, oh, okay.
She's
Amy
covering
Archer
it on
came on
Pink
the
Shade.
show last
Mhm.
month, and she was great. She's you guys. That is a must listen. And I don't watch Temptation Island, and if both of you, she tried to get me to like, I'll watch it and listen to it because I
We
have
love it.
no knowledge of that show.
We love it. She covered it with
Oh,
me
that's
last
gonna be
time, so we're
good.
covering it on Pink Shade. We've already gotten all the screeners, so I'm gonna be front loading like I did with Love Is Blind because they're
And Mark
dropping
Wahlberg hosts that show, not the Mark Wahlberg,
no,
the actor, Mark Wahlberg, the
Mark
the
L.
amazing
Wahlberg.
host, Mark
Mark
L.
L.
Mark
Wahlberg,
L. Wahlberg, not
who
Wahlburgers, L.
who
Wahlberg.
I've interviewed twice, and, so you know Dylan and Pat, So Bad It's Good?
Wait, what?
You know Dylan and Pat that have So Bad It's Good or another Below Deck podcast.
Wait, there's a show called So Bad It's Good. That's not my show.
Okay, scratch all that. It's not called So Bad It's Good. It's called
I was like, wait a sec. Somebody. I have the title of another show this last 5 years. I have no
I'm
clue.
looking at your logo and it just went into my brain. No, scratch, start over.
Okay, scratch that. I just got
Okay.
really scared for a second. Okay.
Okay, Dylan and Pat have another podcast network, and it is Dylan and Pat, and they cover everything like Below Deck. It's called like another Below Deck podcast. They have like
Okay.
another, yeah, so and they're covering the traders and stuff. So, Dylan and Pat are great. They when I went and did their show when I was in LA visiting when I saw you as well, I went to Pat's house, and his next door neighbor is Mark L. Wahlberg. And he was there because he does his
Wait,
podcast
how good is
from
their
Pat's
podcast
studio.
doing that he's living next to Mark L. Wahlberg? Are you kidding me?
He does
That
pretty
sounds like
good.
he's doing pretty good.
Yeah, they
Jeez.
do great. His little
Um,
studio in his backyard, and Mark uses that studio space for his podcast called Bonfire Talks.
and that's all about Temptation Island.
No, it's not. It will be coming up, but on the off season, he just gives advice because there's nobody better than Mark L. Wahlberg for advice about anything you need.
I like him as a host. He seems like a really good host. I geek out about hosts all the time. So
He's so
he's
great. He's
yeah. I
so
saw him in a
great.
grocery store once, and I was like, "Oh, dude, it's Mark L." I mean, I said Mark Wahlberg, but I was very excited to see him in a grocery store. So Pink Shade, that's the show. They obviously have tons of amazing stuff coming out, so you want to go support. And this is easy. This was easy breezy as I thought it was going to be. I'm walking away with this with a good feeling, and I hope you will too, Mary Payne.
Always, and just like you said, sometimes you walk away from episodes and you go like, "That was great."
Yeah, I hope
Yeah.
that's the feeling you have when you're recording two more podcasts after this.
Yeah, I'm gonna go talk about the Baldwins now. I hope my voice doesn't go out. Yeah.
Okay. Well, good luck with that. Don't go crazy, and we will talk to you very soon.
Thank you, Ryan.